Hello everyone and welcome back to my sewing room. If you're new to my channel, my name's Diane and I like to share with you the stories of the quilts that I make. I haven't got a finished quilt this week to share. There will be one next week. That's the Christmas gift. Can't believe that it will be all over by the time that video goes out. So this week for me has been a sort of tidy up. I've reorganised my room, took me 2 days, almost 3. So I've sorted everything out. There's sewing things in here, there's some bead making, there's some art materials. So now they're all sort of in their own little sections. The downside of tidying up your room is when you go to put your hand on something, it's no longer there. It's moved into a more convenient space that you can't conveniently find. But anyway, so it's all tidy, it's clean, ready for the new year and all the new year challenges. I do keep a quilting journal. So December, that was the last quilt I made, and I'm just now at that point where I'm sort of looking back over the year. I think I managed to get most of the things that I wanted to get done this year, surprisingly really, because it's been a year of ups and downs. So the main thing for me that's altered is I've changed my way of sewing. So before I would buy the materials I needed for one quilt. I was a monogamous quilter, so I would buy the things I needed for one quilt, make that, process the scraps, and then sometimes put those processed scraps aside, and when there was enough of a particular size I would start making quilts from those. And then this year I started making multi-quilts, so you flit around from one to another. And I'm quite enjoying that. I think I'm going to carry on doing that. I'm still working with the process, so nothing's absolutely finalised yet. But I think what suits me is to have a couple of smaller projects on the go, time-consuming projects, and then perhaps have one that I start and finish. I think that's the sort of way I've fallen into things. So quilts, they do start to accumulate, especially if you are fast at sewing like I am. And so what to do with them? Like I say already, I've had a folksy shop. I have an Etsy shop that is empty at the moment, and I make quilts for family and friends and for project liners. So that's where they sort of go. The smaller quilts generally are for project liners, and so what I tended to do before, I'd got into a habit of starting and making quilts, and depending on the size I'd have a larger one followed by a couple of smaller ones. I could generally get one quilt a week roughly made, so as you can imagine that's quite a lot of quilts. So I was posting regular videos, but if you're making less, then I have less to share with you, obviously. I'm also a very keen gardener, and I've managed to get all of those shrubs in. Where we are in the heart of England at the moment, the temperature is very, very mild. It's wet and it's mild, so it's just perfect for, getting the shrubs all in and away. So there's not a lot really to do in my garden, it's just tweaking. When we moved into this house, I purposely designed this garden for it to be low maintenance and bird and bee and insect friendly, because I had a large allotment. So all the fruit and veg that we had needed, I used to grow on the allotment, and it was a very large allotment, and we had a stream at the bottom of it, so it was absolutely perfect. But when we moved and I had less time, I gave that up eventually, and so there's not a lot now to do in the garden apart from enjoying it. So tweaking and enjoying, pottering we call it. We did have a large pergola built, lots of clematis to go over the pergola, so hopefully in the hot weather we've got some shade out there, because it looks like where we live now, this is our season. We have in the central, like we say, we're sort of protected from the worst of the winds and the worst of the snow and the worst of the rain, but we do seem to have a very hot, dry summer, and we do have a very mild, wet winter. That seems to be the pattern now, and looking forward, it seems to continue that way. And so new ways of working in my sewing room. So I'm multitasking at the moment. I have 2 projects on the go. The project on the wall is a Christmas quilt for another year. So I've made that with all the process parts of fabric that I have, and I'm working around in a medallion way. I know what I want to put next, and I've probably got enough fabric. I haven't measured it out yet, but I feel now I want to pack that away and start on some others. I do have some ideas of making some Christmas houses in a quilt, so I'll probably put that together, sort of an odd mismatch one. And I've got odd bits of fabric that I could probably do a bar quilt with in Christmas fabric. But like I say, lots and lots of things that are in the future. And so another big change that I have this year is that I discovered Rainbow Fabrics. Now, if you are unaware, Rainbow Fabrics is a dead stock company, and it sells fabric globally. Here in the UK, the postage is very small. Isn't about £4 usually for postage, which when you consider the price of the fabric, it's not very much at all. And if you spend over £50, then postage is free. I know Anya, who watches regularly, she lives in the Netherlands, and she uses Rainbow Fabrics too. So the downside, I think, on Rainbow Fabrics is that it's not the current designs. People, aren't happy about companies like Rainbow Fabrics, excuse me, especially if you retail quilting cottons and fabrics, if you're an online shop particularly. I don't have a local quilting fabric shop. It takes me about 40 minutes in the car to get there. I don't drive, so I'm reliant on lifts. So there's 2 buses I have to take, or 2 trains. We don't have a direct route through. And so when you take the cost of your travelling and then parking, that ups the cost. I do occasionally go because where our local fabric shop is, it's in a beautiful area and we make a day of it. So there are some lovely little restaurants and coffee shops, and there's a beautiful park and nice. It's a nice area to walk around. There's a cathedral. And so if I'm doing that, then that is going to be an expensive day in itself. So that's without the cost of the fabric. So if you're a little bit flush and you have money that you want to treat yourself with, that is something to do. But if you're wanting to make lots of quilts and you're giving them away, a lot of them, then, and you're being cautious about the cost of things, then this dead stock company is, a way to go. The downside, I suppose, is that you don't get up-to-date fabric designs. You're always a couple of years, a year behind the latest fabrics that they deal with. Now, my experience is, if you look at the fabrics that you're buying and you buy the designer ones, Kaufman or Northcott, Timeless Treasures, all those sorts of fabrics, you're sort of guaranteed really on the quality of the fabric that you're going to get. Sometimes they have some very pretty fabrics on there, and I've bought some that I think, that'll work nice in a quilt, and the quality hasn't been as good as the other ones, but still 100% cotton and will work fine in backing. I have got some fabric to show you, and one of those pieces will go in the back because it's not as nice. It's a bit of an open weave, still perfectly functionable for a quilt. Is that a word? Functionable? sounding like it should be. Anyway, yeah, so it's okay. It will go in the back of a quilt and be very serviceable. Now that is the word. So yeah, so I've started buying things on there, and the cost I think are about between $4.99, $5.99 a metre, and wide backs are about $12.99 a metre, and some of those are the Tulas, you know, well-known names, Robert Kaufman. Again, you have to look at the names of the fabric. And they start from about $8.99 for wide back up to $12.99, things like that. So a metre. Sometimes they have remnants on there, and I've bought some of those in the past where they're perhaps got the very end of a bolt, and it might be 1.8 metres, odd sizes, or, you know, 2 metres, 3 metres, odd bits. And I have bought a couple of those. 2 I bought were marked, they were dirty, looks like they'd been on the floor or something, so I washed those. 1 came up perfectly fine, there was no problem. The other one was left with a little mark, but I was able to cut that mark out. I wanted it for piecing, and so it was only a small piece. Sometimes they do say if it's a defect, sometimes you have to look. I did have 1 quilt that I used backing for, and I noticed on the back there was a little hole, so I put a label over that. But in general, I have been very pleased with everything. Their delivery, if they've got a big sale on, tends to be slower. You'll get an email saying, you know, they're behind because of the volume, and it's not worth them really taking on more staff to deal with that if it's only occasional times of the year where they're short. So sometimes you have a delay in delivery if there's a big sale on. Other times it's usually about 2 or 3 days to arrive here for me. So, you know, fine. So I think what I'll do now is I'll show you my latest fabric haul. Halloween. I watch Dave's Craft Room when I can, and for the last couple of years he's been having like a Halloween spooktacular where he's had a series of quilts put together, and I was inspired by Dave to make a Halloween quilt. I've no idea how or what sort of quilt I will make, but I'll show you the fabric that I've bought. So there's quite a good haul there, isn't there? I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I've got other colour fabrics that I'll be able to mix and match together without a Halloween theme, but will work colour-wise. This is a one piece that is a little bit open weave. Of course, I had to buy it because it was orange. I love orange. And so, but it'll be, I like making piece backs. So I will put that in a pieced back panel, this cat panel. I've got a door as you come in from the house inside. I might make a panel to go on that, a door hanging. I've got a Christmas tree on there at the moment. I will show you that. But I think this is would be a good size. I could do something with that. I think I'm going to put some embroidery on her face because she looks a little bit angry. And I think, don't know why I'm calling her she, I think yes, I'll make her look a little bit friendlier. So I've got all this Halloween fabric, and so I've got a purpose designated drawer for Halloween. And in here there's this beautiful Robert Kaufman, I'll show you that, which I bought recently, and there's some cat fabric. Don't know why they choose to put greens and purples and things off for Halloween, but that generally seems to be, and I think that could work in there. So that, I'll put that away. I have a lavender bag in my drawers because it helps to keep it fresh and supposed to keep away bugs and moths and things like that. And now I'll show you the Christmas fabric that I bought. Not as much, but I'll show you that. This one is heavier, as you can see, it's quite full. So I do have some fat quarters. So there's some robins, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 sets of robins, and then there's some smaller pieces, less than a fat quarter. So some pails, little bits of pails, and another fat quarter that I've cut into, a couple of those, so less. So this is where I'm thinking perhaps houses, that could work, I think. And then I've got, this is yardage, so I've taken a small amount from this lovely Christmas cracker. I've got a few yards of this. That's a Robert Kaufman with these mice on, and then some bits of stars. It's like Christmas trees with lights. Bits of this that I used in the last Christmas quilt. These are Robert Kaufmans that I've used. No, these are Northcott that I used in the last one. So I've got bits of these. I'll show you how I keep a record of what I've got, because otherwise there's quite a lot of this. It can get out of hand, can't it? And you don't know what you've got. So the palers, this is lovely. So here's this one by, they're the same, Winter Wonderland, Marcus Fabrics. So I bought a couple of meters of this. I mean, it doesn't have to be just because it's got stars on, gold and blue stars. That is versatile. That doesn't have to be, Christmas. Some snowflakes. This I'll probably use as backing. Like I said, that one isn't as nice quality. Some more of that cream, but in a blue colourway. Quite a lot of this beautiful stars, snowflakes, and then some of this that I used in the Winter Village, like a snow. I thought that would make a nice skyline for some houses. So I think what I tend to do is buy a metre at a time, and then if they've got plenty, they do sort of tell you how much stock they've got, and then I'll go back and buy, another couple or one if it's something I think I'll use. So that's how I've been buying fabric, and I'll show you how I've been keeping records with Rainbow Fabrics. When you get your order, So they'll send you A4 bits of paper, and there's a colour image and how much you've ordered on there. So I've kept all of those in this folder, and then as I use it for any particular quilt, I will cross out the amount that it says I have, and I will write that new amount in. I'll also say where I've used that fabric. So yeah, there's, you know, it's just a way of keeping track, because otherwise, if I want to make a quilt, it means I'm going to have to take everything out, all the fabric out, and have a look through and sort of work out how much there is. So it helps me keep a rough idea of how much fabric I've got and whether there's enough for a quilt that I might have an idea for. So I think that now is everything. There's probably something I'll remember that I should have said and I haven't, but phone's going as well. So that's a perfect opportunity for me to finish this video. Enjoy your Christmas if you celebrate, enjoy your sewing if you don't, or whatever else you're doing, and I will see you again in the new year. Like I say, there's a video on the 27th, and then I'll chat again on the new year. So Merry Christmas everyone, and thank you for watching my channel and supporting me, and all your lovely comments. Oh, I will just mention comments before I go. If someone has commented and you comment on their comment, it doesn't come up on my phone. It's only when I go on to my YouTube channel that I see that you've commented. So if you want to leave a comment that you want me to read, then quickly or respond. I try to respond where I can. I need to sort of see it individually. Otherwise, I will respond if I see it. Otherwise, you know, it might get missed. But if you're chatting to someone else in regards to a comment, that's fine. You know, that's what I'm hoping we'll do. We've got a nice little community here. So I will see you next year, and I've really appreciated your company. Thanks for watching. Bye.